now we have got the best hardware, Nintendo 64. We can change the image of game.
Which means?
We can make the quite different game from current game. Like the game itself always changes with players.
Mario is a gaming franchise that I, and many others, love so much. I grew up playing Mario on my old DS and Wii, and I continue to play Mario games to this day. He is one of the most iconic gaming characters of all time. I even made a big video collab where I talk about all his mainline Mario games, so check that out. The first main Mario game was back on the NES in 1985, simply titled Super Mario Bros. It was a very simple game about some plumber running through various levels and saving the princess. It's simple but a lot of fun. Now around the mid to late 90s, video games were starting to transition from 2D to 3D, thanks to the power of the newer consoles released at the time, like the N64, Sega Saturn, and PlayStation 1. Now most games had a rocky jump into 3D, as many developers had trouble figuring out how to transition into 3D. Games like Sonic R and Bubsy 3D are prime examples of a rocky jump to 3D, but what was Mario's jump to 3D like? Before the N64 was released, Nintendo did experiment with Mario in 3D, mainly with Super Mario RPG, released on the NES in 1996, but Mario's main jump to 3D was with Super Mario 64. Now Super Mario 64 was a game changer for the time. The graphics for 1996 were groundbreaking at the time, and it revolutionized 3D gaming. Now in this video, I want to discuss how Mario 64 revolutionized 3D gaming, and if it is still as good as when it was released back in 1996. But first, let's get into the history of this groundbreaking game. Hey, real life Zach here, just kind of interrupting the video to say that I was going to talk about Real and all the myths and rumors with Mario 64, but I kind of realized there's no point, because to sum it up, it's not real. If I were to go in depth about the whole rumors and shit, we'd be here for ages, so just know, Luigi was supposed to be in the game, but he got cut, he's not in the final game, so yeah, that's really it. On with the video. The main development for Super Mario 64 started way back in 1993, but the idea for a 3D Mario game started back in 1990 with Mario's creator Shigeru Miyamoto, back when he was working on Star Fox for the SNES. He wanted to create a miniature open world where players can explore around, something like a miniature train set, but the limited power of the NES and SNES were holding him back from his ideas. But when he saw gameplay of Star Fox and saw the 3D models used, he was convinced that a 3D Mario game could be possible. He spent many years trying to get a 3D Mario game on the SNES, and while the SNES Super FX chip was very advanced for the time, it simply couldn't support Miyamoto's ideas for a 3D open world Mario game. Once development on the N64 began in the early 90s, Miyamoto made sure that the console could run and support his ideas for a 3D Mario game. In 1993, production on Mario 64 officially kicked off, with Miyamoto being the game's director, and sadly this would be the last Mario game he would ever direct. They were developing the game right around the time they were developing the N64, since they wanted this game to be a launch title for the N64. The first year of development was spent on designing the concept of Mario 64, while the remaining 2 years was spent actually building the game. Around 15 game designers worked on Mario 64, and their first job was to design how Mario would transition into 3D. They would sketch out and design how Mario would move around in a 3D space, Yoshika Kazumi designed and rigged Mario's model in the game. According to Yoshi, him and Miyamoto would stay up late in the Nintendo offices, and Miyamoto would act out and jump around all over the place, showing off how Mario should move around the place. Apparently, it looked like Miyamoto was acting out sketch comedy, but it did help Yoshi out with designing how Mario should move all around the place. They thought about using motion capture technology to animate the movements, but they decided to simply animate the movements by hand to make the game look more cartoony, and motion capture technology was still in its infancy, so it would have looked very rough. Now, the main issue with development was trying to bring Mario into a 3D space. 3D games were very uncommon at the time, so it was very difficult. The main issue was the camera. They had thought about using a fixed camera view, since that's what most 3D games were using at the time, something similar to the new Super Mario Bros. Games, with having a fixed camera to the side, or have a fixed path for the camera, similar to Mario RPG. But they knew that they wanted this game to show off the power for the N64, and have a camera that could freely move around. This was a big challenge, and the main person who developed the camera system was Takumi Kawaja. He spent the whole development working on the camera system and perfecting it. During development, the developers mainly used keyboards to play the game and test it out, since they didn't really have N64 controls due to the fact that they were developing the game when the system was still being developed. They even used modified second controllers to help develop the game, but they eventually were given prototypes of N64 controls to work with, and they apparently went through a total of 30 prototypes of N64 controllers while making the game. In November 1995, Nintendo showed off Mario 64 at the Nintendo Space World. At the time, the game was around 50% complete, and people there were incredibly impressed with the game. It was originally slated to be released in December 1995, but Miyamoto wanted the game to be the best it could be, so he asked if the game and the N64 could be delayed till 1996. So after 3 years of development, Mario 64 was finally released on the 23rd of June 1996 in Japan, September 29th 1996 in North America, and finally on the 1st of March 1997 in Europe. And the game was a humongous success. Critics and gamers praised the game for its graphics and its gameplay mechanics. The game paved the way for 3D gaming, and would even inspire huge games like Grand Theft Auto. Anyway, with the history of Mario 64 out of the way, let's get into the main review of this game, and why this game was so good and so beloved. Now, the first thing you notice with this game is how weird and kind of bad the graphics are. They are very blocky and just look kind of off. But you gotta remember, this was made on the N64. Every game in this console looked like crap. In fact, a lot of games from this era look really bad. None of them really hold up that well today. They're all made when developers didn't really know how to make 3D games. Like, have you seen Bubsy 3D? That game's a fucking mess, man. Before the time, these graphics were honestly very impressive and kind of groundbreaking. Nintendo wanted to make a game that looked like a cartoon, and they succeeded. Other games around this time tried really hard to look realistic when, honestly, they just looked like complete crap. The main Mario model is incredibly iconic, and the model for Bowser is genuinely really cool. Now, like I said, these graphics really aren't the best, especially for some of the side characters here. They look so blocky and gross. The graphics would, however, have a major improvement in Super Mario Sunshine 6 years later, so Mario 64 really helped Nintendo when it came to 3D graphics. Now, another major aspect and the most groundbreaking aspect of Mario 64 was the controls. Back then, the game was the first 3D game to use a movable camera, thanks to Nintendo's weird N64 controller. The movement and jump set for Mario is great and was a good start to this new form of gameplay. Now, obviously, the controls for Mario 64 are very outdated and have shown their age, but like I said, this game was the first of its kind and really showed off what 3D gaming is capable of. There are many great movesets for Mario here, like the ground pound, the triple jump, the wall jump, and the punch and kicking move. Now, these controls of movements have aged pretty well today. However, the camera controls are extremely outdated and very difficult to work out. I played Mario 64 on the Switch, and it is very difficult even to this day. Now, another memorable aspect of Mario 64 are the stages and levels. Unlike the other 2D games, which has a basic point A to point B system, Mario 64 has these big open levels that allow the players to run around and explore. Instead of ending the stage at a flagpole, the level ends when you find a star. And there are plenty of stars scattered all around the map for the players to find. The more stars you find, the more levels you unlock. There are some great levels in this game, like Bob-omb Battlefields, Bomb's Fortress, Jolly Roger Bay, Big Boo's Haunt, and Tick Tock Clock. These levels are very well made and have a great feel to them. This game may have been the first to introduce 3D graphics to a Mario game, but it was also the first to introduce voice acting. This was the first Mario game where we hear Charles Martinet voice Mario, and he will continue to voice Mario to this very day.
Mamma mia! Okie dokie. Thank you so much for playing my game. It's me, Mario!
But we all know who the real actor for Mario is, and that's Chris motherfucking Pratt. The obvious choice to play this Italian plumber.
It's me, a Mario.
I'm messing, of course, but honestly, Chris Pratt as Mario ain't a bad choice, to be honest. I'm looking forward to this future Mario movie. Now, while Mario doesn't have a lot of dialogue in this game, it was still the beginning for a great voice acting career for Charles Martinet. Now, I have been talking about most of the flaws of this game, but it genuinely has some great aspects to it that still hold up to this day. The music here is really good. It's not as fantastic as Mario Galaxy or Odyssey, but the music here is still fantastic, and the general vibe and feel to this game is just really nice. It's a great game to just sit down, relax, and play. This game also has a very passionate speedrun community. I love watching people try speedrun the game, and just adding really cool mods to the game. It's amazing. The fanbase for Mario 64 is huge and people still love this game. It's not the best Mario game out there, not at all. Odyssey and Galaxy are easily the best Mario games of all time, and I might talk about them in the future. Especially Galaxy, with some people considering it to be one of the greatest Mario games of all time, and even one of the greatest video games of all time. And honestly, yeah, I do agree. Galaxy is much better than Mario 64 in almost every way, but Mario 64 has a certain charm to it and a nice relaxing vibe to it. It just makes it stand out, and like I said before, this game was the first of its kind, and without it, 3D gaming would be very different and we wouldn't have all these amazing 3D games that we have today. Mario 64 was a game changer, and it truly was a phenomenal game at the time. Now, what happened after Mario 64 was released? Well, there was a sequel planned and there was a lot of development spent on it, but it was ultimately scrapped. There was a playable demo of this game, where Luigi was a playable character in the demo, but like I said, it was scrapped and there is no leaked footage of it. There was, however, a remake for Mario 64 made for the DS back in 2004. It's essentially Mario 64, but with much better graphics, more levels, and other characters to play as, like Mario, of course, Yoshi, or Yoshi, or whatever the fuck you call him, Wario, and Luigi, but my boy Waluigi is nowhere to be found. Rip Waluigi. Mario 64 DS is surprisingly a really good game for the DS. It's really impressive that they were able to fit Mario 64 and cram it into a handheld with even better graphics and models, although the graphics and models are much more pixelated rather than blocky, and controlling the game with the D-pad really isn't easy, but it's still a really good remake from Mario 64, and I would highly recommend you check this game out, whether it be through Dolphin Emulator, or getting an actual DS and actual cartridge of Mario 64, which I actually have. €60 well spent. Also, Mario 64 was re-released for the Nintendo Switch in HD in the game Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which included Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. These are nothing more than ports of the original games with minor bug fixes and slight visual enhancements, but for some reason Mario 64 is stuck in a 4:3 aspect ratio, which pisses me off. If modders can make the game in 16:9, then surely Nintendo can, but it's still an okay remaster. It has all these iconic games in one, so it's fine. Now in conclusion, Mario 64 is a game I hold very near and dear to my heart. It may be outdated and not the best Mario game, but the game helped start off 3D gaming, and I'm positive to say that it changed the gaming industry. I would highly recommend playing the game if you haven't already. It's available on a lot of consoles, like the N64, but getting that to work is a pain in the ass, the Wii, DS, Wii U, and of course the Switch. Or you could legally emulate the game, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, I love this game so much, and without it, 3D games would be very different today. So, we all owe Super Mario 64 a big thank you for being a game changer. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed this video, hope you all have a super fun day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.